Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really interesting and surprisingly sizable corner of the global economy: industrial filter cartridges. We've got a recent report just packed with info, and we're going to pull out the nuggets that really matter.
That's right. And to kick things off with a bang, the global market for these industrial workhorses, filter cartridges, well, it's projected to hit a hefty USD 6.28 billion in 2025. That's a significant number.
$6.28 billion
Yeah.
just next year.
Okay, so it's big now, but the story doesn't stop there, does it? This isn't exactly a stagnant market.
No, not at all. The forecast shows pretty substantial growth, actually, reaching an estimated USD 9.42 billion by 2033. So yeah, we're looking at some real momentum here.
And what's the engine driving that? We're talking a compound annual growth rate. That's the CAGR, the average yearly growth of 5.2% between 2025 and 2033. What's, making this market tick? Well, there are several key factors at play. Think about the increasing need for cleaner air and water, right, in all sorts of industrial processes. Factories, labs, even power plants, they all need to filter something. Then you've got increasingly strict environmental regulations pushing industries to clean up their act.
Absolutely. It's not just about efficiency anymore. It's often the law. What else is contributing?
Industrial expansion itself is a big piece of the puzzle. I mean, as manufacturing and other sectors grow globally, their demand for filtration solutions naturally goes up. And let's not forget the clever folks inventing new and better ways to filter things, technological innovation in filter materials and systems. It's constantly improving efficiency and driving adoption.
So it's a perfect storm, almost. Need, regulation, growth, and innovation all pushing this forward. Now, this report, it really digs into the details, right? It's not just the big numbers.
Yes, exactly. To really get a handle on this market, we need to break it down. We'll touch on the major companies involved, and then we'll zoom in on how the market's segmented. That means looking at different types of cartridges, the categories of filtration they use, the materials they're made from, the filtering media inside, the industries using them, and even how they get from the manufacturer to the user.
A proper deep dive. So for anyone listening who wants to understand this market, we're going to give you a comprehensive overview. Now, before we get lost in all those details, let's just set the stage with the timeline. When was this data gathered?
Right. The analysis is based on data from 2024. That's the base year. They look back at historical data from 2021 through 2024 to spot trends. That 6.28 billion figure for next year, 2025, that's an estimate. And then the report forecasts all the way out to 2033.
Okay, so a solid foundation of recent history informing these projections. Makes sense. So we've got the impressive size, the expected growth. Let's circle back to those drivers for a second. You mentioned a few, but can we unpack them a little more? What's the real story behind that 6.28 billion in 2025?
Well, that figure, it's a direct result of that rising demand we mentioned. Think about pharma needing ultra-pure water, right? Or the food and beverage sector needing to remove contaminants for safety. Manufacturing plants need clean air for equipment and workers. This demand, across so many industries, it's a core driver.
And it feels like the regulatory side is only getting stricter. It's not just a suggestion anymore. It's often a legal requirement, real consequences.
Absolutely. Stricter environmental regs are a huge catalyst. Governments everywhere are setting tougher standards for emissions, waste disposal, and effective filtration is often the key to meeting those standards. That creates a consistent growing need.
And you touched on tech advancements. What kind of cool stuff are we seeing in filter cartridges? It can't be static, right?
Definitely not. We're seeing new materials, better filtration efficiency, handling higher temperatures or pressures, lasting longer. Think materials, science applied to filters. And innovations in the design itself, maximizing surface area, improving flow rates, making the whole process more effective, sometimes more energy efficient too.
Fascinating. So demand pulling, regs pushing, and tech enabling powerful combo. Okay, let's zoom out, look at the map. I'm always curious how these global numbers break down regionally. Where's the biggest market?
In 2025, North America is projected to hold the largest share. We're talking over 40% of the global market with a total size of USD 2.32 billion, and it's expected to keep growing steadily, CAGR of 3.7% through 2033.
That's a significant chunk. Which countries in North America are really driving that? The U.S., I assume.
Yeah, the U.S. is the dominant force, definitely. Market estimated at 1.83 billion in 2025, CAGR around 3.5%. Canada follows 278.83 million, slightly higher growth at 4.5%. And Mexico is also significant, 211.45 million, growing at 4.2%.
So the U.S. is king of the hill there, but Canada and Mexico showing healthy growth too. What's behind North America's lead? Just established industry.
It really comes down to a well-established and diverse industrial base. Manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, food processing, they're all significant and need efficient filtration. Plus, like we said, the environmental rules in North America are pretty stringent, which just adds to the demand.
Okay, North America leading. What about across the Atlantic? How's Europe looking?
Europe's holding the second largest market share, over 30% actually. Projected market size, USD 1.82 billion in 2025. The expected CAGR for Europe is a respectable 4.3% through 2033.
Still a very significant market. Which European countries are the key players there? Germany, UK.
Both are big. Germany is the largest individual market, projected at 360.60 million, growth rate 4.5%. The UK is substantial too, around 305.96 million, CGR 5.1%. Then you've got France at 167.55 million, 3.5%. Italy 156.62 million, 3.7%. Russia's pretty large at 282.29 million, 3.3%. Spain, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, even Luxembourg. They all contribute meaningfully. CAGRs range from like 3.4% up to 4.6% for Luxembourg. The rest of Europe combined is about 254.97 million, growing at 3.0%.
Wow, a really diverse mix across Europe. What's fueling their demand? Similar story.
Yeah, pretty similar to North America. Europe has a strong focus on environmental protection, stricter regulations driving adoption of advanced filtration, plus a well-established technologically advanced industrial sector that just relies heavily on effective filtration. That focus on high air and water quality standards plays a crucial role too.
All right, so North America and Europe, the established powerhouses. Now let's talk dynamism. I'm guessing Asia Pacific is where we see the fastest growth.
You've hit the nail on the head. APAC currently holds around 23% of the market, size of 2.18 billion in 2025, but it boasts the highest growth rate by far. We're talking a FDU of 7.9% projected through 2033.
Really, 8%. That's impressive. Which countries are leading that explosive growth in APAC? China? India?
China's the largest single market, projected 633.02 million, CAGR 7.4%. Japan follows, 207.99 million, growth 6.4%. South Korea, 180.86 million, growing at 7.0%. India showing the most rapid expansion among the major ones mentioned, remarkable CAGR of 9.8%. 2025 market size around 150.72 million. Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, Southeast Asia as a whole, all showing strong growth too, 7% to almost 9%. Rest of APAC is about 67.82 million, 7.7% CAGR.
India at almost 10% growth. Incredible. So APAC's really the engine room for future growth. What's driving that specifically?
It's primarily the rapid pace of industrialization and urbanization across much of the region. As these economies develop, their manufacturing sectors expand massively, so the need for industrial filtration just grows exponentially. Couple that with increasing environmental awareness and, in some places, tightening regulations. Demand is soaring.
Okay. Covered the big three. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa. Smaller, but growing.
Yep. South America has just over 5% share, 238.64 million in 2025, a respectable CAGR of 5.9%. Brazil and Argentina lead there. The Middle East is around 2% globally, 251.2 million, but growing faster, 6.5% CAGR. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are key, and Africa holds about 1%, 158.16 million, growing at 5.5%, with South Africa being the largest market.
So smaller, but still decent growth. What are the main factors there?
In South America, it's largely tied to ongoing industrial development and a growing recognition of needing cleaner air and water. For the Middle East, increasing industrial activity, especially oil and gas, plus stricter environmental rules. And in Africa, it's a mix of expanding industrialization and just a fundamental need for better air and water quality as things develop.
Fascinating how different economic and regulatory landscapes shape this. Okay, let's dive into the filters themselves. The report breaks it down by product type. What are the main categories?
Okay, several key types, but the one that currently dominates is melt-blown filter cartridges.
Melt-blown. Right. What makes them the top dog?
Well, think of melt-blown like a very fine 3D web of synthetic fibers. That structure gives them excellent filtration efficiency for tiny particles. They're also relatively cost-effective and versatile, so they're suitable for a wide range of industries. Pharma needing sterile filtration, food and beverage-moving sediments, chemical processing.
Makes sense. Versatility, effectiveness winning combo. What's the next big category then?
String wound filter cartridges are experiencing rapid growth. These are made by winding, like a continuous strand of material cotton, polypropylene around a core. The density of the winding sets the filtration level. They're also known for high efficiency, versatility, cost-effectiveness. Finding uses in similar industries to melt-blown, chemicals, food bev, pharma, Also water treatment that tend to be good with higher viscosity liquids, maybe larger particle loads.
So melt-blown leading for fine filtration, but string wing's a strong contender, maybe for different liquid types. Any other types highlighted?
Yeah, we also see pleated cartridges, folded material, maximizes surface area. Membrane cartridges, they offer very precise filtration using thin, porous membranes. Sintered cartridges, made by fusing particles like metal or ceramic together rigid, durable. And carbon cartridges, using activated carbon to remove chlorine, odors, impurities from liquids and gases. Each type really designed for specific challenges.
Okay, a diverse toolkit. The report also mentions segmentation by category. What's that referred to? Surface versus depth.
Exactly. It's about the fundamental way the filter captures stuff. The report mainly discusses surface filtration and depth filtration.
Can you break down the difference there?
Sure. Surface filtration, which currently holds the larger share, mainly traps particles on the outer surface. Think of a sieve, right? Catching the bigger bits. This gives precise separation, sometimes longer filter life, lower maintenance if you're dealing with uniform particle sizes. Really important in pharma, chemicals, food processing, where high purity is critical.
And depth filtration, how does that work?
Depth filtration, which is growing faster, works by trapping contaminants throughout the entire thickness of the filter medium, like a sponge soaking up particles. This gives enhanced efficiency for a wider range of particle sizes, usually a higher dirt holding capacity. Means the filter lasts longer before clogging. Good for food, bev, pharma, chemicals dealing with more complex fluids.
Interesting. Surface for catching on the outside, depth for trapping within. Now, what are these things actually made of? Key materials.
Polypropylene, PP, is the dominant material here.
Why polypropylene? What makes it so popular?
It's a bit of a workhorse material. Offers excellent chemical resistance to lots of different substances. It's durable, and it's cost-effective. That combo makes it ideal for a broad range of uses. Water treatment, pharma, food processing, where compatibility and reliability are essential.
Makes sense for those demanding industries. What materials seeing more rapid growth?
Carbon blocks and powders are seeing significant growth. Activated carbon is incredibly effective at absorbing that sticking to the surface, things like chlorine, VOCs, heavy metals. Makes carbon filters crucial for improving taste and odor in water, ensuring purity in food, bev, and pharma.
So PP for general use, carbon for specific removal, other important materials.
Yeah, the report also mentions stainless steel, valued for strength, resistance to heat and corrosion. Polyamide, or nylon, offers good chemical resistance and strength. And cotton, still used in some string wounds, natural filtration, cost-effective in certain apps. Each material brings different properties.
Okay, the material really dictates what it can do and where. Now, media type, what's the difference between that and the overall material? Thin, thick.
Right, media type refers more to the structure of the filtering material. The report highlights thin media, thick media, and sintered media. Thin media currently holds the largest share.
What are the advantages of thin media?
Thin media, like membranes or finely woven fabrics, typically offer very high filtration efficiency with a relatively low pressure drop. That's beneficial in pharma, food, bev, chemical manufacturing, where you need good flow rates and high purity.
And thick media is the one growing faster. What's the appeal there?
Exactly. Thick media could be a dense matrix of fibers. Granular material offers superior capabilities when dealing with high volumes, maybe liquids with more contaminants. That's why it's seeing increased use in chemicals, pharma, food processing, where longer filter life and higher dirt holding capacity are a plus.
So thin for high efficiency, low pressure drop, thick for more volume and gunk. What about sintered media? Where does that fit?
Sintered media, as we mentioned, fused particles. Creates a rigid, porous structure, defined pore size. Offers good chemical and thermal resistance. Often used where you need durability, ability to withstand harsh conditions.
Okay, durability for tougher environments. Right, we've covered types, how they filter, what they're made of, the media inside. Let's move to where they're actually used. End-use industries. Which sectors are the biggest consumers?
Currently, the metals industry is the largest end-use segment.
Metals. Interesting. Why do they need so much filtration?
Think about metalworking processes: cutting, grinding, finishing. Generates particulate matter, requires cooling lubricants that need filtering to remove debris, maintain effectiveness. And metal-based filters, especially stainless steel, are valued for durability, strength, performance in high-pressure environments common in oil and gas, automotive, chemicals, places where metals are heavily used in equipment.
So keeping processes clean, equipment running smoothly in tough conditions. Which industry is showing the most rapid growth and demand?
The chemical industry is currently the fastest-growing sector for consumption.
That makes sense. Increasing complexity, potential hazards in chemical processing.
Precisely. The chemical industry's growing demand is driven by the need to filter a wide range of complex, often hazardous materials. Got to maintain product quality, ensure safety, comply with those strict environmental regs on emissions and waste streams.
So while metals are biggest now, chemicals are where the dynamic growth is. Other significant end-use industries.
Yep, the report also highlights oil and gas, water and wastewater treatment, food and beverage, and the pharmaceutical industry as major consumers, each with their own specific needs.
Okay, really diverse set relying on these cartridges. Finally, how do they get to the companies? Distribution channels. Online versus offline.
The online distribution channel is rapidly gaining dominance.
Not surprising given e-commerce everywhere else. What makes online appealing for filters?
Convenience is huge. Online platforms offer a vast selection, easy to compare specs and prices. Broad reach helps companies in remote areas access suppliers. And often, the cost-effectiveness of e-commerce means better deals.
Ease of comparison, accessibility, key drivers. What about traditional methods? Still significant.
Interestingly, the offline channel is also cited as a very fast-growing segment.
Offline growing quickly. That seems a bit counterintuitive. Why is that?
The report suggests it's due to established trust, relationships built through direct sales, regional distributors, retail. For some buyers, especially with complex needs, that face-to-face interaction, hands-on demos, personalized expertise, that's still highly valuable. Plus, regional distributors mean timely delivery, local support, service critical in industrial settings.
Other channels, direct sales.
Direct sales from manufacturers and indirect channels involving various intermediaries, they also play a role, though the report doesn't delve deeply into their specific growth rates right now.
Okay, multi-layered distribution reflecting diverse needs. Now let's switch gears. The companies making and selling these things. Who are the big players? Competitive market.
Yeah, fairly competitive. A number of key companies offering diverse solutions for all those industries we discussed.
Can you name some of the major ones?
Certainly. Danaher and Parker Hannifin, both U.S.-based, are significant global players. Eaton, headquartered in Ireland, another major contender. Donaldson from the U.S., Erme M, plus Hummel, based in Germany, key companies.
Some really well-established industrial giants. Others we should know.
Oh yeah, the list goes on. Alfa Laval, Swedish. Camfil, also Swedish. HYD DAC, Germany. Lentec, Netherlands. W.L. Gore, U.S. firm. Then there's Hengst from Germany. Fleet Life U.S., Sulfurit Netherlands, Sharplex India, Cummins U.S., EFC Filtration Belgium, Foreign Italia Italy, DR Miller, AG Switzerland, and Biomerio SA from France. Quite an international mix.
It really is a global industry. How do they compete? What gives one an edge? Innovation, cost.
Product innovation is a major driver, absolutely. Companies are constantly investing in R&D, more efficient, durable, specialized tech. Cost efficiency is crucial too. Industrial buyers always want performance at a competitive price. And finally, compliance. Meeting or exceeding those increasingly stringent regulatory standards. That's a key differentiator.
Innovation, cost, compliance, classic pillars. The report mentioned recent strategic activities. What kind of moves are they making?
Well, back in November 2021, Alfa Laval introduced an updated gas combustion unit targeting the LNG market in the Gulf region. Aimed at improving efficiency, safety, and LNG ops shows a focus on specialized apps. And in October 2021, Donaldson acquired Solaris, a U.S. company specializing in food and bev filtration, also expanding into biopharma, life sciences. Strategic move to broaden their portfolio, enter new growth sectors.
So enhancing existing lines and expanding into new areas. Now, like any market, there are probably challenges, speed bumps. What are the main restraints?
The report highlights the potentially high initial investment costs for advanced filtration systems. That can be a limitation, especially for smaller businesses with tighter budgets.
Makes sense. Cutting-edge tech often comes with a higher upfront price. What's the other key restraint?
Navigating regulatory compliance complexities, keeping up with evolving environmental rules, ensuring products meet standards. That can be a burden for manufacturers, potentially slow down innovation a bit.
So balancing cost and compliance is a key challenge. On the flip side, major trends shaping the future, more efficiency.
We've touched on some, but yeah, the report emphasizes the continuing rise in demand for high-efficiency filtration across virtually all industries. As standards get tougher, processes more intricate, the need for more effective filters just intensifies.
And the tech advancements we discussed, expected to continue.
Absolutely. Expect ongoing advancements in filter materials, improved performance, durability, maybe even sustainability. We might see more widespread use of, like, nanotechnology in filtration or maybe smart filters that monitor themselves. predict maintenance.
So the future looks like a push for greater efficiency, continued tech innovation. Okay, let's synthesize all this. We've covered a lot of ground. Core takeaways.
In a nutshell, industrial filter cartridges, it's a significant expanding global sector, fueled by demand for cleaner processes, stricter environmental rules. North America's biggest now, but APAC is growing fastest.
And looking at the segments,
We see melt-blown cartridges, surface filtration, polypropylene filters, thin media dominating currently. Metals industry is the biggest user. Online distribution is major and growing. However, we're also seeing rapid growth in string wound cartridges, depth filtration, carbon materials, thick media, the chemical industry, and even that offline distribution channel. It's dynamic, established leaders, exciting expansion areas.
a truly comprehensive overview. Sounds like a market with strong underlying drivers, some really interesting shifts happening.
Precisely. It's fundamental to modern industry, and its importance for efficiency, safety, environmental responsibility that's only set to grow.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought. We've seen how demand for cleaner processes and stricter revs are major forces. But with the growing focus on sustainability, resource efficiency, how might innovations in, say, reusable or biodegradable filter cartridges disrupt this market? And what entirely new applications might emerge for advanced filtration, maybe beyond traditional industrial uses? Definitely something to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.